Okay, so here's a little probability recap. So in class this week, we said that probability can only be between two different numbers. It can only be between 0 and 1. We also said that the probability, if you really want a formula, is that it equals to the number of favorable outcomes divided by the total outcomes. So we talked about other things. One of the things that I do want to mention, though, is the addition rule. So this is what we kind of discovered. This was our last... the last problem that we did on in class. So what we said is that if I want to figure out the probability of A or B, then this is just going to be equal to the probability of A plus the probability of B minus the probability of A and B. Okay, and what we said was that, let's say, for example, we have this Venn diagram, okay, and we have two different events, A and B. We know that in order for me to figure out A and B, I need to figure out the entire area of these two Venn diagrams. So what we found was that, okay, well, if I wanted to find the probability of A, well, I can shade all of A. And let's say I wanted to find the probability of B, well, I can shade all of B. But once I've done that, notice that I've actually shaded in the middle part twice. So that's why we are subtracting this extra probability of A and B so that we have just the circles themselves. So that's really what we want. So this is one of the rules that we said. Also, if you remember, a disjoint event. Okay, so let me just write disjoint event. This is also what we call mutually exclusive. So these are just, exclusive. This is just synonymous. They're basically the same. It's the same thing. It means that now, if you had the same two different events, these two events are disjoint if they don't have a common ground. So they don't have anything in common. So which tells you that the probability of A and B for all disjoint events is equal to 0. So if I really wanted to use the addition rule for a disjoint event, notice that this whole part is just going to go to 0. Okay, so if you wanted to figure out the probability of A or B, this is just going to be equal to the probability of A plus probability of B minus 0, because we know that that's just going to be disjoint because we know this. So you don't necessarily have to memorize these formulas, but just you put them in your note card whenever we do our exam too. Okay, so what we're going to do an example. So this is the example that I have. So let's say, for example, we had for one community, 35% of married men are college graduates, 41% of married women are college graduates, and 14% indicates that both the husband and the wife are college graduates in a household. So if a married couple from this community is randomly selected, what is the probability that either the husband or the wife is a college graduate? Okay, so this is very similar to the problem that we did in class. The only thing that's a little different now is that, sorry, I'm multitasking. The only thing that's different now is that I don't give you the actual numbers. I actually now give you percentages. So you can see that now I give you other things. And what we want to figure out is the probability that either the husband or his wife is a college graduate. So probability of either the husband or the wife is a college graduate. Okay, now if we go back to the addition rule, we said that in order for me to find the addition rule, I just have to take the probability of A added to the probability of B minus the probability of A and B. Notice that these are not disjoint events because a husband and a wife can both be college graduates. So that's possible. There's a 14% chance. So this is going to be just the probability of the husband being a college graduate plus the probability of the wife being a college graduate plus, I messed up already, minus, I'm using a new software, so I don't know if this is, I'm still new at it. Okay, minus probability of husband and wife being a college graduate. Okay, so this is the addition rule. Okay, so now all we got to do is now find these probabilities. Now, the probability of the husband being a college graduate, so the married man, okay, so that is not going to be 35%. It's going to be 0.35, because this has to be, remember, a number between 0 and 1. And clearly 35 is not a number between 0 to 1, so we have to convert this 35% into a decimal. So we drop this with the decimal point over, and I get 0.35. Plus the wife being a college graduate, that's going to be 0.41, minus the probability of the husband and a wife being a college graduate, so that is just 14%, so 0.14. Okay, so now we're going to put this into my calculator. And so I'm going to have 0.35 plus 0.41 minus 0.14. This is going to give me 0.62. This is the probability. Okay, so that's the probability of obtaining, of randomly selecting either a husband or a wife who is a college graduate. If I wanted to have the percentage, it will be 62%. Okay, but it would just be, since we're asking for the probability, not the percentage, it would be 0.62. Okay, all right, so that's it for this video.